Could the SEC and the Big Ten be making a huge misstep by using their influence to expand the 12-team college football playoff to 14 teams instead of 16 teams if you're going to expand it at all? And what, if anything, do they hope to gain from this? What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider watching this show because you like it. And if you do, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk college football, every single day, most days. I mean, we really do have something to say every time we do this show. If you like the show, hit the subscribe button. It costs nothing. Like this video and answer this question below. Do you think that the Big Ten and SEC should use their influence, quite literally controlling influence, to make the college football playoff amenable to them? Because by now you have probably known, because I've done this segment, the Big Ten and the SEC would like to have 4 guaranteed spots in the college football playoff, and they would like to change the seeding and how it's done. The second part of that, I think everybody's on board. Nobody really enjoyed the seeding for the 12-team playoff, but, it was better than nothing. And I think we ended up with 2 of the best teams in college football playing for the national championship, which is what we really want. We want a tournament. We want a tournament that is going to allow for one undisputed champion in the sport. I've been huge on this. I love this idea. There are many at the national level who don't. And I'm going, yeah, all right, that's because you want to have the influence on saying who you think ought to be the national champion. And I don't think that the sport is small enough for you. I think it should be decided by that thing we call the scoreboard. And if you can beat people on the scoreboard, then you get to be the national champion. That takes the task of really picking a national champion out of the hands of people that don't play. Let the players decide. Let the players decide who wins the national championship. And I thought that's what we got closer to, if not dead on, with this last college football playoff, because everybody that needed to be in was in, right? Usually we can make that argument for 2 teams, maybe 3 teams. So we had 4 teams because odds and evens and whatnot. So we have since expanded to 12 because we wanted to make a bigger deal out of college football. We wanted to play more games. We wanted to get more money. We wanted to combat what is going to be a fundamental shift in how we do business and name, image, and likeness and the salary cap and House versus the NCAA. So now we've seen the SEC, particularly Greg Sankey, has been really aggressive about wanting to see these changes. Wonder why? It's because the SEC got boxed out of the national championship game for back-to-back years. That's why. It's because they saw Texas, Georgia, Tennessee all get bounced out before they get to the national championship game, right? You're also thinking Alabama should have been in there, and then Michigan goes and beats them like a drum. Meanwhile, you got the Big Ten going, Michigan might have had one of those spots. Think about how they ended the season. They beat Ohio State, who is the national champion, and they beat Alabama, who many people thought should be in there for SMU, who played in a conference championship game when Alabama did not. The way that Michigan finished, there's an argument. Indiana got in for the first time. They don't get in if there's no 12-team playoff. But I think the solution here is not actually going to 14. It's going to 16 if you're going to do anything at all. Now, the reason I think this is a solution is because it's going to level the playing field all over. One, you just go to 16 so that you got to play 4 games to win the national championship no matter who you are. No buys, right? You also would not need to play a championship or a conference championship to decide who gets in and where and seed them appropriately. I think that's ridiculous. I do want to continue to play for a league championship, though, because I think league championships are cool, and I think league championship games are cool. I don't like ties. Who likes ties? Who likes being a co-winner of the Big Ten? This ain't 1995, dog. We can do better, and we should do better. If it's Ohio State and Michigan at the top, let them play for it. Meanwhile, Oregon gets to be a Big Ten champion, and they didn't play for the national championship. They beat Ohio State in the regular season. They beat Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. They didn't make the 14 playoff this year. Penn State did. It's fine. It's cool. It's all right. And then I think we should have the top 8 seeds get to host a home game to start. More home games. That was my one takeaway. The one thing I wanted to see changed about the college football playoff, if nothing else, we need to have more on-site games. It's the thing that we as a sport do better than anybody else on earth. We are the absolute best at creating a raucous, intimidating, and thrilling home environment on games that matter. Ohio State fans showed up, and it mattered when Tennessee thought that they were going to run into the shoe and give somebody the what for and how now. SMU was shook when they had to go up to Happy Valley to play against Penn State, and it showed. Kevin Jennings played the worst game of his entire life against that team. It matters, dude. You got to keep doing it this way. You got to get more games on campus. So how would the 16-team playoff work for me? I'm looking at 8 on campus. I'm looking at 4 New Year's 6 bowl games, right? And then I'm looking at 2 others that host semis. You could put the New Year's 6 rotation into it if that's what you need to do. And then you have the national championship game. It's not really rocket science. It's not that hard. And I did it over here on a piece of paper, dog. Like, I'm getting upset about it because I do think the Big Ten could risk fumbling. Big Ten and the SEC could risk fumbling, which is an otherwise pretty brilliant proposition, only so they could give themselves more of an advantage. And you know what? In most years, it doesn't really matter. Right? They're as good as they're going to be. And most of us already know that the 2 best leagues in this entire country are in the Big Ten and the SEC. They also got 34 teams between them. We only got 134 teams in the sport, and we discount like half of them, right? Like, think about that. We got damn near half of college football playing for one spot, the G5 spot. The rest are playing for the others. I don't know why we don't do it this way or talk about it this way, but it ain't got to be this hard. Boise State still managed to get in, and they still managed to get their behinds kicked. That's probably not going to change. But if you mess with this system in a way that people might think it is rigged, you risk alienating them. And that is not something that college football in and of itself can afford to do.